Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new exciting podcast. My name is JJ Vola. Alongside here is my co-host Cal. Today we have a special guest, Clint McFawn. Clint, thank you so much for being a part of today's podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, give everybody who you are, what a brief description of what you do, and take it away.
Yeah, my name is Clint McFawn. Like JJ said, I own and operate McFlys Shoe Rescue, where I do sneaker cleaning, restorations, customs, as far as like anywhere from sneakers up to cleats. Work with a bunch of pro athletes locally and in the U.S. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I do on a daily basis.
Awesome. Well, let's go back to your younger years of working. What are some of the jobs that you kind of got into, helped you guide you into where you are today? Give us a little give us a little story.
Yeah, I grew up in a military family. My grandfather, who's still alive, 98 years old, still alive and kicking. I followed his example and ended up joining the military when I was 20, and spent 10 years in the military. Got to see and do all kinds of crazy stuff, but that was like my entire 20s. So before that, I had a couple little stupid teenage jobs, washing dishes at Kelsey's and stupid Boston Pizza, stuff like that.
The stuff you learn you don't want to do.
Yeah, when you prefer basic training over the job you currently have, you know the job you have sucks.
Right.
So, I joined pre 9/11. So,
Okay.
so I joined in December of 2000. Did some training over the winter. Went away for the summer. Did a bunch of my infantry training. Came back 2 weeks later. 9/11 happened, and that clearly changed the trajectory of my career while I was in the military. I was supposed to go on a peacekeeping tour that October of 01. That obviously didn't happen. Things got readjusted. So, yeah, I stayed in doing that. Got to meet and see a lot of cool stuff. Like, met Queen Elizabeth in Hamilton in 02. Met Kobe Bryant as a basketball fan, as a sneakerhead. That was one of the coolest things ever. I was at a military night in Toronto, and Kobe came and sat down beside me. So little perks of the job that, and then, there's the downside of things coming. I came out with PTSD and anxiety and a couple other physical ailments, but I've been out since 2010 and did some odd jobs after I got out, and then I became a barber. I did my apprenticeship. I started my apprenticeship at 35 as a barber.
No way.
Loved that. Then I did that till about 2019. Then I had some health issues, had to step away for a bit. And once COVID kicked in, I decided at the beginning of 2020 to really flip things around and start focusing on the shoe business. Because I'd done the shoe stuff on the side, in the background, as a side gig while I was cutting hair, and then just decided, you know what, this is as good a time as ever to flip it, because it was illegal to cut hair. So I couldn't do what my job was. So I said, you know what, people can still drop shoes off at my house,
Right.
and I can still do drop offs and pickups, contactless type stuff, and things just sort of took off during COVID. That was the the background there.
Cool. Awesome.
Wow.
And just go back to with you being a barber. So how long did you do the cutting the hair for, roughly?
So 2015, about 5 years.
Okay.
And I may now have 2 clients that I cut.
Okay.
2 local boxers, actually, that they become like family. The Wilcox boys from Steeltown Boxing. They're like, I do their fight week cuts. So like, I legitimately have 0 paying customers for hair. I do their haircuts like,
Right.
here, go and win a world title.
Mention my name.
Mention me. Give me a shout out online. And when you win a world title, bring me in the ring type of thing. Like, remember me when you're a big shot.
Yeah.
That's providing a lot of value right there.
Yeah.
And they will, like that probably goes, a fair bit of distance with those guys, right? So they probably love it.
Yeah, and they're an amazing family, that group. So like, I have no problem.
Sure.
They're the only haircuts I do. Like, I don't even cut my kid's hair anymore. He's 14 and he's like, I'm good, Dad. Like, go go clean some shoes, I'll go and go to a shop and get my hair cut. So
Wow. And so obviously you're cleaning shoes today. So run us through like your day-to-day process. Like, what does that look like? How do you find customers? How do people find you?
I've been pretty fortunate. Like word of mouth has been a lot of what I do. So it ends up being, I started off, like I said, started off doing it while I was cutting hair. So I'd have hair clients that would find out, like, because I have a pretty good collection of like retro Jordans and
I'm
stuff
sure.
like that.
Yeah,
So
we got to get into that.
yeah, so like I always wore nice shoes and they were always clean. So I'd have people going like, "You're a barber. How the heck do you keep your shoes so tidy and
Right.
clean?" And I'm like, one, I'm ex-military. Two, my dad was a collector. He's collected Chuck Taylors. And then my grandfather, like I said, he's still alive and kicking. He taught me how to take care of leather, take care of shoes and stuff when I joined the military. So, and then I grew up an athlete. Like in high school, I played basketball, played football and rugby and all that type of stuff. So I was always very particular about my shoes growing up. And then, yeah, that's, people sort of found me that way in the beginning. And then I just started posting my work. I have a YouTube channel that I don't really use anymore just because I'm too busy to post videos.
Right.
But yeah, Instagram is where most people find me. And then I do shoes for, it's like I do shoes for JJ and then he tells Cal and then Cal
Right.
tells this guy and tells that guy. And that's sort of worked like that. And like I work with a bunch of like probably half a dozen or so Tie Cats. When the Hamilton Honey Badgers were here, the CEBL basketball team, they've now moved to Brampton, unfortunately, but I was like their official shoe guy. So I'd set up and I'd have a booth, like an old school shoe shine stand type of idea, courtside. So I'd be from me to you away from the court and sitting beside the visitor's bench. And fans would come up, I'd clean their shoes on foot. Players would bring me shoes from the locker room. I'd clean them up while I was there. And then that just sort of snowballed into, like I did some customs a couple years ago for Dane Evans, who's now with the BC Lions, but wore them in a couple of games, including the Grey Cup. They were on ESPN, so I had friends in the States that do what I do, messaging me saying, "Oh, I just saw your customs on ESPN. That's sick." And I'm like, "Oh, let me try to find."
Where did you see that?
Because I was at the Grey Cup. I have season tickets, so I was there. So I didn't see the pregame until afterwards. That it was they did an interview with him, and so it was for his tribe back home because he's Native American. So I did shoes with like his native language and the imagery and stuff like that on it. And he wore them for a few games, and he did a pair for another guy last year. And yeah, it's just sort of it ends up being almost brand recognition too, because I put them in a custom box. So then these guys take it into the locker room and they see, "Oh, McFlys Shoe Rescue," and the logo all over the box. And then, hook me up with that guy. And then now I work with the Hamilton Cardinals, the intercounty baseball team. Same idea as like the official shoe care guy for them. So I set up field side, like on the concourse, and do stuff for fans and the players. And yeah, trying to work on couple more partnerships, maybe some golf courses locally.
True.
Doing the same thing in clubhouses and yeah, so it's
Go,
an ever evolving endeavor.
That's awesome. I just it's funny, and I have to know why, because I mean, and I understand there's so many people who love shoes, who will just buy shoes and just stare, have them on the shelf and never wear them. I'm not one of those guys.
Right.
I'm the type of person goes and buys shoes, wears them until they're just ready to fall off my feet, and then obviously go buy new shoes. What is it about shoes that gets you excited, or like the collection of shoes? Give us a little rundown of like what it is about it.
I think honestly, like I said, back in the day, my dad collected when I was young, like in the 80s. I'm old. So when in the 80s, when I was a kid, my dad collected Chuck Taylors. So he'd have 10, 15 different colors. And my dad had swag before that was a thing. Let's put it that way. Like he dressed like, he looked like Ray Liotta back in the day. Like he looked like he was from Goodfellas with the like shiny suits, but he always wore Chucks. So he'd wear like a pink one with a yellow one, and then like a green one with a blue one, and a Canadian flag, an American flag, whatever. So he always had these shoes, a collection of shoes, and then dress shoes. My mom was the same way, dress shoes and purses. But and my dad always cleaned them, always took care of them. So, and like I said, I grew up in a military family, so I was always taught
Prim and proper.
take care of your stuff. And my grandfather, like he's 98, his one of his philosophies has always been, you get a good haircut, a good pair of shoes, and good cologne, and and when you leave the house, you're already a step ahead of 90% of the guys out there.
True.
So like,
Yeah.
you get what you pay for type of thing. So if you invest in shoes and how you look, you're presenting yourself to people that way. So the shoe thing just sort of came by filtering down from my grandfather and my parents. So
I just wonder what it is, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's like obviously communities, and I've seen YouTube channels and stuff like that where, you know, the what do you call, like the shows of sneakers and all
yeah.
that kind of stuff that you go to, and you know, people are hustling and buying and flipping shoes right at the shows and all that kind of stuff. Or
that side of the culture is not really where I like to be. I like that's not like resellers and stuff. Like I'm the guy that you buy shoes to wear them. So like I don't care how expensive the shoe is. Some prices make no sense to me, but it is what it is. But I mean, wear them, and then there's people like me that can completely restore them back to factory.
right.
So like I do sewing, like hand sewing, and like
Okay.
de-yellowing. Like if your shoes start going yellow, I take care of all that stuff. So I tell people, including my kid, my son's like, "Oh, Dad, I don't want to wear these because I don't want to wreck them." I'm like, dude, you know what I do for a living? Like, put the shoes on, man. Wear the shoes. I didn't buy them for you to grow out of them.
Yeah.
Like your feet are going to grow, and then you're not going to be able to wear them.
Right.
So yeah, that side of the sneaker culture,
Yeah.
that's where I'm old school. I don't. That's where I'm like in my day. That's like I'm that guy. That's like you just wear your shoes.
Yeah.
And that's where I think like the fascination with shoes, you know, comes from. It's like, you know, people love cars, people love the baseball cards. They love just collecting really anything out there. And that's the same thing with shoes, which is something that's like a wearable item, but also kind of like a bit of a status symbol as well, you know?
You're right.
And the idea that you can't get certain shoes makes them, you know, everyone starts talking about it. Dude, I can't get these shoes. Wouldn't it be cool if I ever had these types of Jordans or whatever it may be? And even me growing up, like Christmas lists, like I'd have 4 different types of shoes laid out, pictures of them, all that. I just was so obsessed as a kid. And I grew away from that, you know, growing up, but
Yeah, that's where I didn't grow away.
but I get it. I get it, you know, and being able to restore them, take them back to that original state as if you just bought them. Like that's the cool thing about shoes, that you can restore them.
Yeah, there's literally a million things you can do to get them back to a certain state. So like that's one of the things that I love when someone brings me a pair of shoes and they're like, "Oh, I know they're terrible. There's probably nothing you can do." And I'm like, I love when people doubt me. I love when people doubt me.
Yeah.
Or I get some new customers that'll be like, "Well, I'll bring you these 2 or 3 pairs and we'll just see how it goes." And I'm like, "Oh, second guess me. I love it. I love it." Because then I like bring them back and then they're like, "Oh, I should never have doubted."
Well, of course, like their expectation is like new, right?
Some people, yes. Some people are like, "Well, just do whatever you can do." And
Right.
like when I try to under promise and over deliver, as opposed to the opposite. So I don't say anything when they're like, "Yeah, I doubt you'll be able to do anything with these." In my head, I'm going, "Oh yeah, okay."
Yeah.
Challenges.
See what I can do.
Yeah. No promises, man. I'll see what I can do. And then I bring them back and they're like,
And they leave, they're like, "Oh man, there's probably nothing you can do." Then they show up and they're like, "Dude," right? You're probably freaking out.
because I usually do before and after photos. That's like, you probably saw on my Instagram. It's like all
It is
before and
quite
after
crazy.
photos. So like I'll send the after photos to my customers before they pick them up. And they're like, "You're a wizard. Like you're a wizard. How did you do that?" And I'm like, because it's magic. I can't reveal my secrets. So
Yeah,
Got the
exactly.
secret sauce. You know?
yeah.
Or everyone else would do it, right?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a couple young bucks out there that are trying to come up behind me and do it, but I'm pretty comfortable in where I'm at.
I bet. Like, how much does it cost? Or is there just different levels of pricing when it comes to cleaning shoes? Like, what do you charge?
Yeah, it's almost like car detailing or something. I have different packages. So like it's called a basic one is like $35, and then I go up to, and that's just for like the outside of the shoe, and then there's an ultra cleaning, which is $50, and that's like the entire shoe. Take the laces out, clean the laces, clean the insoles, clean the inside of the shoe, clean the bottoms, everything top to bottom.
Wow.
And then there's other services I do, like the de-yellowing and crease reduction, because people lose their mind when their toe boxes get creased. The pair of Air Force Ones or Jordans, so like I take creases out of shoes, and repainting. So like when midsoles paint starts coming off, I hand paint that and airbrush, and
Even dress shoes too, I guess, right?
that is actually how I started, because when I was doing my barbering apprenticeship, the shop owner came to me and was like, man, we're downtown. Like I work right downtown in International Village. He's like, you should start doing shoe shining, man. Like that's right in your wheelhouse. While you're learning how to cut hair, do that on this like a military style shoe shine, because we'd have lawyers and bankers and sales guys that all live and work around downtown that would come in. So I started doing that, and then I went to another shop, and then started doing the sneaker stuff, because I was like, I'm finding I wear sneakers literally every day, sometimes multiple pairs a day, because I'm that guy.
Yeah.
But it was one of the guys that I worked with there was like, you should really like get license this and like register the business and just start doing this as a side hustle. Do all the social media stuff and just see what happens.
Right.
So being an ex-military guy, I follow directions pretty well. So he's like, do this. So I was like, okay.
Yeah.
It's actually my tattoo artist. He does like most of my tattoo work. So him and I have become really good friends. But it was like his sort of nudging that made me go, yeah, you know what? You're probably right, because there's a big market for it. And there's people that do what I do in the GTA and other places. But I think when people find out that I'm not 18 or 19 or 20 years old, that like I have some time in the shoe game, like
Yeah.
I was around when the original releases for these Jordans that everyone's losing their mind for the re-releases. I get a little bit more credibility. And then when you see my work, I think sort of speaks for itself too.
For sure. And that's why I had to ask, because I have a pair of dress shoes that I'm probably going to give to you on the way home.
Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely.
It's like I love them. But do you also repair the, what's the sole that goes into them, or make
Insoles.
new ones? Yeah, the insoles.
I can.
Because that's one thing that just they're worn out. And it's like, I love the shoe, love the style. Don't want to get rid of them. But I know it's like I got to go spend another $200-$300 or maybe $400 on the same pair of shoes.
See,
right?
that's where people love when they find out what I do, because I do purses and wallets. So,
Oh, cool.
So I get ladies that have like $1,200 Louis Vuitton bag or something that, my lipstick melted in my bag and now the liner's all messed up. Don't worry, I got you. And I clean that out, and then they end up being lifetime customers.
Right.
It's like
Anything. Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, dress shoes. Basically, I say anything from like Chuck Taylors up to like, I've done like, I think the most expensive pair of shoes I did was like a $3,000 pair of designer sneakers.
Oh, wow.
Some of my clients have quite a bit of disposable income.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And then there's the people that really keep me in business are young guys and young girls that go to clubs and jack up their shoes. Like, hey man, I wore these to the club on Friday night and I spilled vodka cranberry on them. Can you help? I got you.
I know. You probably clean a lot of shoes the same time, like over and over.
Oh yeah. There's I've got
repeat.
customers that will bring me the same three pairs of shoes every 2 or 3 months, because they're like,
Right.
it is what it is. Like, I don't know. They wear them for to work or to drive to and from work or to the gym or whatever. And I end up, seeing the same shoe 3-4 times in
like
a
a
year.
subscription.
Yeah. Actually, I thought of doing that at one point during COVID, and then the idea just didn't really take off, like the subscription thing. But I mean, I'm stay busy with what I'm doing now as it is.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. Wow. And like, how long would it take you to restore a shoe? Like you said, that your most extensive is about $50 or so. Like, what does it take usually per shoe to do?
Like a basic cleaning, usually it's a day or two turnaround. I don't guarantee turnaround times just because it depends on how busy my week is.
Yeah.
And it goes like this, right? It ebbs and flows. So I could have a week where I'm doing 15 pairs of shoes, and then I've had weeks where I'm doing 70 pairs of shoes in a week. So then your turnaround time may be a little bit longer. Cleanings, it's 48 hours probably turnaround time, because I clean them, take my time, let them dry, because I have a dryer and all that sort of, like a shoe dryer that I use. And but when it comes to restorations where I have to like strip the paint or like touch up the paint on stuff, or like a full polish on a pair of shoes, or that's usually, I say, 4 days or so. It just depends on the amount of work, because some of them are quick and some of them are going to take me 6-8 hours
Really?
to do top to bottom. Customs are an entirely different.
Right.
Like when I'm doing custom cleats, or like I actually got a pair of cleats in today for a player from the Toronto Rock. And he's playing outdoor lacrosse in the US during the summer. So I'm doing some custom outdoor cleats for him, but they may take me a few days to, and it ends up being, you know what, this shoe's drying, I'll go in, like the paint's drying on this custom, I'll go and clean 3 or 4 of these. Now these are drying, I'll go back and do the touch-ups on the paint job on this one, or it depends on the level of crustiness of the shoes, we'll say.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And
It's funny, like probably in your house too. Like, I mean, when people drop off these shoes,
Yeah, my wife
little
loves
smelly.
it.
Yeah.
My wife loves it.
What do you have, like an area where you keep the shoes that are incoming?
Theoretically,
sort of thing?
theoretically, Cal, I do. I do have a shop, like a studio in my basement.
Cool.
But I also have more shoes of my own that take up more space than like my studio ends up being a lot of my own shoes. Like, so I end up bringing them in. If they're terrible, I take them downstairs. Usually, unless someone asks me for like same day or next day turnaround, I take them down into the shop and just leave them till the next day, because I'm usually working on something else. But sometimes, like just before Christmas, I think I had 38 pairs of other people's shoes in my house, and my wife's like, "Are they coming to get their stuff, or like what's happening?" Like one was a suitcase full of shoes, like a huge suitcase.
wow.
And there's like 24 pairs in there of a guy, and it was him and his wife and his kids' shoes in there, and then I had just random people that come. Oh, I want to get this quick custom for Christmas. I want to give them to my niece or whatever. So to answer your question, they should have a designated space, but they end up everywhere.
Yeah.
Because at some point when there's 50 or 60 pairs of shoes, sometimes of someone else's shoes, they spill out all over the house. But
Now, has there ever been a pair of shoes that you couldn't restore?
yeah, I mean, sometimes people will bring me a pair of shoes, and I'm like, because I used to do sole swaps, so like the upper is fine, but they have a heel drag, so like there's a hole in the back heel of the shoe on the bottom. Sometimes it's not worth them paying me to change them, getting a donor and swapping the sole. Like, you're gonna pay me almost twice as much as it would be to just replace this $120 shoe.
Right.
That stuff I try not to get into, because it's just so time consuming. And then some stuff, you're like, to answer your question, there's some stuff that's just beyond.
Yeah, repair.
Most of the time, no, but sometimes it's
Too crusty.
well, and sometimes it's just like, like I don't really do. Part of the issue when people call me, they find me on Google or whatever. I don't do a lot of what cobblers do, like an old school cobbler, as far as like,
I was waiting for that to come up.
yeah. So like, I don't carry stock. So like, I don't have like soles that I can replace your dress shoes or your boots or like heels, that type of stuff. I can fix that stuff, but you'd have to bring me the stuff. And I don't have like if you go to a cobbler, an old school cobbler, they've got all their sanders, all their big, huge machines. I don't have room for that in my basement. It's pretty much the same size as the studio here. So it's not a ton of space to be having massive machines. So, yeah, that type of stuff I don't really get into. I tell them to go to a cobbler. Now it's almost like a dying breed. Like it's a dying business. There's maybe one guy that I know up on the mountain.
Adam Sandler.
Yeah. Now the guy up on the mountain wants to retire and sell his shop. So now it's going to be like, do I learn how to do that stuff? Like, do I invest in I work from home because like during COVID, I had a shop and COVID, you guys are ready. You're allowed to be open. Oh, no, you're not. Oh, you guys can open again. Oh, but you can't have customers come in. Kind of difficult with the business that I do. So the last wave, I just sort of shut down and I'm like, you know what? I'll go back to working from home, have a desk, have a shop, do everything from home. So I don't have space for that type of stuff. But then also I'm in school full time during the year. So right now I'm on my old man summer vacation. I go to Mohawk. So I'm, on my summer break. So the time and effort to have a physical location is tough too. So
Right.
What are you in school for?
graphic design.
Oh, no way.
So I always been fairly creative. Probably tell by the business, right? But Veterans Affairs actually is like, you need to go back to school and do something that you're passionate about, and we'll pay for it. And I was like, yes, let's do those things because that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
So I started last September. I'm legitimately in school with people the age of my daughter who's starting at Mohawk in September. I have an 18-year-old and a 14-year-old. So like everyone in class, well, not everybody, but a lot of them call me Unc, as in uncle, because I'm like as old as some of their dads. So I wanted to try and expand and really push the custom side of things. So I'm learning a lot more of the hand drawing and a lot of stuff like using the software to do proper stenciling. So I know how to do a lot of that stuff, but now it's a little take it to the next level.
Yeah.
Really blow that side of things up. And
Getting into the digital world, making it more custom. I'm sure for even that line of work, like, are you going for graphic design to implement it into like sneakers?
that's the main idea. I mean, I'll probably piggyback both because I'm in print, the print stream. So I'm pretty tactile type of guy, obviously, with the pairing shoes. I use my hands for everything. So a lot of the digital stuff is cool, like apps and websites and all that sort of graphic design is cool. But for me to sit down at a computer all day, every day, I would really be miserable.
Right.
I like to be up, moving around. And that part of that's probably being, a former athlete, being in the military. I like being active, like doing stuff. So sitting there and doing nothing other than like moving a mouse around, I'd go nuts. So the print side of things really, I think, will amplify the custom side of the shoes. Actually, one of my professors used to work at Adidas Canada in their design stuff. So I always do the wink, wink, nudge, nudge when it comes time next year for an internship. I know a guy that wants to work at Adidas. It's this guy.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, that's hopefully it. I've learned so much the first year. It's crazy.
Right.
So,
And how far are you into it now?
I'm just finished first year out of 3.
I see.
So it's an advanced diploma for whatever that matters. But
Right.
all that matters is that I'll be super old when I graduate. Graduate college.
Yeah, and you're enjoying the program. Like you're having a lot of fun with it. Do you think you're going to complete it, or?
Oh, I'll complete it. Yeah, I love it. Yeah,
Nice.
it's thankfully the program I'm with Veterans Affairs is they basically do a income replacement so like I can focus on school for the next 3 years and like not have to worry about, okay, you have, you know, health limitations, stuff like that from your service in the military. So let's not worry about having a part-time job or a full-time job, or like there's some people that I see at the school, like they work full-time and they go to school full-time. So they, and I've got, like I said, I got 2 teenagers that are super active, and I couldn't do a full-time job, even a part-time job outside of the business. So like I use the business as like it's very therapeutic as well from school. Like if I need to just disconnect from, okay, I need to close the laptop because InDesign is making me want to throw my computer across the room, I'm going to go clean shoes.
Yeah.
Or, Photoshop is very aggravating. I'm going to go paint something. Like, let me just, the shoe business sort of plays hand in hand really well with schooling right now. So,
Right. Wow. That's great.
So funny how therapeutic cleaning your car or shoes or gardening or like these little things that you can do that, you know, they just take your mind totally away from like everything else and just allow you to just do something and not really think about it, you know, and the result is pretty cool.
Well, and you know what, to piggyback on that, it sort of helps me reset and go, okay, now I can go back and finish this 6-hour project that I've got to work on or sit down and draw. I'm not an artist as far as like sitting down with a pencil. My dad was an incredible sketch. He could sketch anything. My uncle is an incredible painter. I'm trying to like find those little, it's got to be in the genes somewhere. So I'm trying to pull those out. So I'm found at school, maybe I'm a little more artsy and creative than I originally thought. Because both my kids can draw and both of them can sing and all this stuff. And I'm like, it's clearly not for me. And then I sit down and I realize my profs are like, no, dude, you got this. You're good. So I'm like, it's, taking a break and then going back to finish stuff.
Sure.
Good idea.
Yeah.
So tell us about like your collection of shoes. I mean, how many pairs of shoes do you own?
So I won't be able to show this to my wife.
All right.
Kill
the question.
No, she's fully aware. I have a storage locker just for sneakers. We're $250 probably, $250 or so.
Wow.
That's amazing.
How much do you think you've invested in shoes?
Don't ask that question.
$200 total. Quite a bit.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I'm not the guy that goes out and buys the hype shoes. I like retro silhouettes, like stuff that I grew up with, 80s and 90s. I rarely, if ever, buy anything at retail. Like part of the business, I get to know resellers, like guys that will buy and flip shoes. And even if they don't have the shoe that I'm looking for, they'll have a retailer, like a store that they can connect me with or whatever. So a lot of the time, honestly, I'll buy cheaper shoes and customize them, because what better advertisement for the business than wearing my own customs walking around Hamilton.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like I got a pair I'm wearing on Friday night for the Ticats home opener that have like acrylic fangs on them. And
Cool.
I've started getting into laser engraving at Mohawk, because they have a big $35,000 industrial laser engraver. So I've started doing some laser engraving on sneakers and a couple other ideas. So that's my shoes are my billboard. So I don't spend a lot on necessarily the base shoe, more time than money at this point. I have invested a lot of money in my shoes, but well, let's move on.
Actually, one question I wanted to ask is, why do they call you McFly?
It's a great question. Well, my last name is McFawn, so MCF. When I was in the military, my roommate at the time in Borden, his name's Steve Meggs, one of the funniest dudes I've ever met. We still talk. He lives in Ottawa, and this was back in 2006, I guess it would have been. Back to the Future is like my favorite movie of all time, the original one and the second one. The third one, even though the Clint Eastwood, that's who I'm named after, he like that character is in the third one. To me, it's a sneaker movie. the second one, especially with the mags, like the auto lacing shoes, even the ones he wears in the first one are like, you can't find that model of Nikes pretty much anywhere anymore. So he started calling me McFly, and then on a course, we were living in Borden doing schooling, and then it just sort of stuck. And then like he lived in Hamilton for a bit, so we'd be hanging out with like my group of friends that he didn't really know. Instead of calling me by my first name, he'd be like, "Hey, McFly, blah 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 blah." So then everyone picked up on it. So then it just sort of stuck. So when I came time to do a name for the business, I was like, McFlys. Yeah, let's go with that because it sticks out. And then it does this, right? It starts conversation. Why McFly? Where does that come from? I've had people that legitimately thought that was my real last name.
Right.
And I was like,
I told that to
Not
Cal. I was
quite
like, because he was like, he's like, what's his name? I was like, oh, McFly something.
McFly the shoe guy.
yeah,
That's right.
that's one of the I get that all the time.
Yeah.
So like now that's like around town, I'm like branded as McFly. Like my Tie Cat jerseys have McFly on the back.
It's easy to remember. It's catchy.
And I mean, pretty much everybody knows those movies.
Right.
Because they're great.
Yeah.
I'm biased, but that's where the
They are
name.
great. Yeah.
That's where the name came from. My buddy Steve, and then I found out that my older cousin, who he's a few years older than me, grew up in Toronto, and that was his nickname in like the 80s was McFly, because that movie came out when he was in high school, and McFawn, McFly just sort of slides together. So now we get together and it's like, oh, the McFly boys, and like it's pretty funny when we do a family get together and it's him and his brother and I, and we're all meatheads. So
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome, man. And I'm sure when people like see you or you're going to a family gathering or see someone they haven't seen in a while, right away they're probably going to be like, "So what are you wearing today?" What are you
almost always. Like when
Yeah.
I go to the Hamilton Cardinals games, I'll go and say what's up to the players and like the owner and a couple of the other guys from the team, and they always do the kick check. They're like, "Oh, man, aren't you worried about wearing these to the ballpark?" I'm like, if I'm worried about it, you know what I do for a living, man? Like if
Right.
I'm worried about it, I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So like I'm pretty much everywhere I go, someone will check out what shoes I'm wearing when school, especially the young guys at school, because they think it's amazing that the old guy has better shoes than they do.
Yeah, true. I just thought about that too, right? All these young guys that are wanting to get into this, and they see you walk by, like, especially if you're wearing something custom.
Yeah. Like if I'm wearing customs or it's like retro Jordans that are actually from like some of the shoes I have are early 2000s. I've got a couple pairs that are from the 90s, and I probably would have more if my mom, when I left for the military, didn't just go, well, we'll just donate all this stuff. You're not going to need them. You wear combat boots now.
Yeah.
Not every day. Mother thinks so.
Yeah,
They
true.
really suck.
Yeah.
To wear all the time. What's your favorite pair of shoes?
That's a loaded question.
What brand do you kind of go with?
I love Jordans just because I grew up in the 90s and Jordan was my guy. So Jordan 1s I love. Probably then like 3s and 11s. So like those are like 11s are like probably the most popular. Like everyone loves them because of the patent leather, and he won championships in them, and like they're very, very popular. So I've got like a few pairs of each of those. And then I wear like a lot of just regular like Adidas every day, like shell toes, and a lot of the time at home I'm just wearing slides or like
Right.
Crocs,
Yeah.
custom Crocs or something like that. Because COVID like really, I was like, well, I'm not busting out the nice shoes to just walk around the house. But at school I make sure that I try and flex a little bit when I go to school.
Of course.
Like Jordan 1s, like some rare ones that no one really sees. That's the thing. I don't do the hype ones. I'll find a pair somewhere in the States or like through a friend that's reselling them or whatever, and wear those, and then have people go, "Oh my God, what are those? What are those?"
It just gets more business.
And that's what it is.
Yeah.
And the custom thing is what as well. So like when I wear a pair of my own customs out, like, oh, who did those?
That's right.
So like some of the guys, like I said, from the Tie Cats, it's really cool for me. No one else really notices, but for me, I nerd out as a sports fan and as a shoe guy.
Yeah.
Seeing my shoes on TSN or ESPN or whatever, like no one else probably gets it. But for me, it's like I'm watching my art on TV. Not a lot of people get to do it. I mean, and they don't even mention it. They don't mention that, oh, yeah, these are from this idiot in Hamilton. Like, it's just, I notice it. So to me, it's a cool thing. My kids, they're like, you're a loser because you're into shoes and you're my dad. So like,
Right.
I think it's cool. So.
Yeah. I'm fascinated. I feel like I got to start a shoe collection. Like before I was in that, I didn't really care, but now I'm like, I want some custom shoes. You know, like, what do you do? Podcast shoes, you know?
I've done, you know what I've done? Last year I did an order for one of my son's teammates from his soccer team. This kid's parents have a real estate company, and the mom bought 5 pairs of the exact same custom for her sales team. So like put their company logo on the back heel, and then they wanted the Louis Vuitton monogram all over it. So I did like custom insoles, custom tongue tags, customs on the back, like their logo on the back of each shoe. And I did 5 pairs of them. So like companies, it's not a joke. I love it because that's where it's cool, because then it's like really individual to the wearer, right? Like who's wearing it. Because there's one thing at customs, I'm not one for, I don't want to have the same shoes as 5 people. Like that's just the type of shoe nerd I am. I don't want to walk in and be like, oh, you're got the same shoes on as me. Cool. I want to have like my branding on it, or I love seeing people with like their own, like the hoodies and hats and stuff like that. Next step, branded shoes. Because like I do the airbrushing, or like take it to the school and do laser. Like the laser, you can do so pinpoint accurate logos that it's crazy what these things can do. So yeah, like that's really what I like to do, is the more personal. Like I did some baseball cleats for one of my customers, this little guy, her son, did a pair for him last year, and did a pair for him this year with his name and team name on the other one, and his initials and number, and repainted them, and like that type of stuff I love doing, because then it's really personal. So then when he's done wearing them and he outgrows them, because he's like 6, you clean them up and you put them on a shelf, and it's like got your name on it. You got cleats with your name on it that you know, may or may not hold significance right now, but maybe they will down the road.
For sure. Absolutely. Wow. I feel like we could talk all day, but unfortunately we're going to end the podcast soon. But one thing we love to end the podcast with is if you could give yourself 20-year-old advice, what would it be?
20-year-old me was when I joined the military. So, I'd probably, stick it out, because I made a couple of career changes while I was in the military. I went from a reservist to the regular force, and then my career just sort of changed from there. Stick with it, probably, and maybe even like this type of stuff, just do what you love, because like there's plenty of time other areas to be miserable. You don't want to do it if you can do something that you enjoy and make money at it, then do that. Stick with it. Like I sort of try and tell my kids, right? I got an 18-year-old who's going into college, so I'm like, I give her the advice I would have liked to have had when I was 20 or 18. Of course. Just do it. Just stick to it. Push through it. There's nothing that's too difficult to work through. Just, you got it. So that's probably the advice I would go back and give myself as a 20-year-old.
Yeah. You seem very fulfilled, like very like happy, like, and it's funny that, like you can be happy cleaning sneakers. You know what I mean?
A lot of people think that's funny too, because it's like, oh man, other people's feet, that's ridiculous. And I'm like, sure, but it's not. That's not how I look at it. I don't look at the downside of it. I like nerd out when people bring me like really cool shoes.
Yeah.
And my family's like, how is this exciting for you? And I'm like, yeah, very fulfilled. Like I love what I do because I get to work with local athletes, local teams. I meet so many cool people through what I do.
Right.
And then some of my customers become like almost like family. Like the guy from the Tie Cats, he'll just message my son, a player from the Tie Cats, and just be like, "Hey, Pierce, what's going on? How are things?" Most people don't get that in their regular job, right? Whereas
Yeah.
a lifelong Tie Cat fan and sports nerd, it's really cool. So yeah, I very happy with what I do. So now it's just pushing it to the next level. So
That's great. And what goals do you have for the next 5 to 10 years?
just keep going, like pushing where I'm going, and like eventually, I'd like to be able to have staff, even if it's my kid,
Right.
even my boy working with me. My daughter's not interested in any of it, but like my son, because wears soccer cleats like 5 days a week. He loves that idea, like loves his cleats and taking care of them. And now he's starting a little bit of a sneaker collection himself. So teaching him what I do and how to do it, being able to expand and grow out of my basement. So when I'm done school, it's like a business where I'm still doing this, but doing the graphic design stuff on this. Branding is really where I want to get into for the design side stuff. So, next 5 years, just be on another planet, maybe.
Right.
When it comes to sneakers.
Right.
Unreal. So how can people get in touch with you, Clint? What's the best way?
Everything on social media is McFlys, MCFLYS _, Shoe Rescue. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. Is my mainly where people find me. I do have a YouTube channel that's haven't posted on in about a year. It's because when I started school, things got prioritized. So that's. You can find me there, book an appointment, or set something up for drop off, and that's where you get me.
Can you ship shoes to you as well?
Yeah, actually, I get people. I've done shoes for people in like Alabama and Florida. People oddly enough, find my old YouTube channel and see what I do, and then end up sending me. It was up a year and a half ago. I did a pair of customs for a guy in Huntsville, Alabama. So he PayPal'd me money to pick up the base shoe, because he wasn't shipping me necessarily the new shoes. I went and picked them up, customized them, shipped them back to him in Alabama. But I've had people, from Florida send me shoes that they want restored, which I think is flattering, because between here and Florida, there's probably 30 people that do what I do between here and Florida in the U.S. So if they think that I do a good enough job to send me their stuff, then that's cool. So yes, I do. People do ship me stuff.
It's good to know, because I mean we're going global with this stuff.
Yeah, that's it. UPS, I'm coming for you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Clint, for being a part of today's
Thanks for having me.
podcast.
This is fun.
And to everyone who's listening, if you need shoes restored, wallets, purses, anything, be sure to reach out to Clint, as he'll be make sure he takes good care of you. Thank you everyone for watching. If you like today's episode, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe so you don't miss out on any future content, and we'd be sure to catch you in the next episode. See you guys. Wow. That was
Good job.
great. Oh my
Unreal,
God.
man.
Good
Holy,
stuff. Good
wow.
stuff. Holy moly.
That's so